Tesla is officially going hydrogen after years of ridiculing FCEVs and hydrogen combustion vehicles. Elon Musk is about to eat up his words with the recent disdain towards electric batteries and the general reliance on fossil fuels to produce electricity. Tesla is about to conform to the fact that EVs might not be the best solution for ecology, especially not compared to hydrogen. EV problems. You see, one of the key issues that EVs have been facing in the past is how harmful to the environment they have been proven to be. Every facet of modern electric vehicles, at least in their current iteration, seems to do more harm than good. And in the grand scheme of things, EVs tend to pollute more than modern gas-powered vehicles do. First, lithium batteries are extremely toxic to the environment due to how they are produced. Acquiring lithium is a dirty process, as it requires polluting streaming water and water sources, which lead to the quality of the soil surrounding the water degrading rapidly. In addition to that, the production of batteries also emits an enormous amount of CO2, effectively completely neutralizing the point of EVs entirely, which was to completely rid us of such emissions. And finally, the biggest problem with EVs is that they continuously emit toxic matter indirectly. In addition to these problems, one of the greater issues of EVs is the fact that production is so costly at the moment that most ordinary people simply cannot buy them. Lithium is expensive as hell, production capacities are not good enough, and the production of a single EV requires interference from multiple countries, as the production of various key components cannot be centralized in a single country. And even if they could, they couldn't charge them at home. Just imagine a New York that is completely electrified. How are you going to charge 3 million EVs daily? The entire city would need to be practically rebuilt from the ground up to achieve this, even if there wouldn't be enough electricity for that number of vehicles. And fast charging is even worse, as that would require much more electric power, which once again results in greater emissions. Now, sure, EVs have a future. However, the current path of development they've taken has been proven to be the wrong one entirely, which brings us to the search for alternative power sources. And out of all the ways to power vehicles, hydrogen presents itself as the best possible alternative. Hydrogen benefits. Hydrogen infrastructure has already been developed to an extent. Sure, it's nowhere near as good as EV infrastructure. However, it is good enough for companies to start experimenting with hydrogen vehicles and offering their vehicles. Hydrogen is extremely tempting because the supply for it is virtually endless, and as such, it has the potential to become practically free. In addition to that, hydrogen is practically emissions-free, emitting 0 grams of CO2. In addition to that, a vehicle can be recharged in a matter of a few minutes, just like regular internal combustion vehicles. As a result of these benefits, many companies have already delved deep into hydrogen development. Toyota and Honda are the most prominent ones, with Toyota offering its second generation of the Toyota Mirai. In addition to that, they also work on internal combustion hydrogen vehicles, such as the GI Yaris H2. They've recently partnered up with BMW and announced that together, they will start producing hydrogen vehicles on an even grander scale than currently available. As a result of this, Tesla, too, started indulging in entering the hydrogen segment, as interest seems to grow more and more with each passing day. And recently, Elon Musk confirmed that Tesla will make their first hydrogen vehicle, called the Tesla Model H. So with that in mind, it's time to answer the question, why this sudden change of heart? You see, with the rise of other brands' interest in hydrogen, Tesla has recognized a massive earning potential here. Earlier, it was extremely unprofitable for Tesla to enter the hydrogen segment, as it would have meant that it would be responsible for creating a net of charging stations, which for an all-new and experimental propulsion method simply wouldn't be profitable. However, now, after Toyota has proven that despite initial strain towards FCEVs, there is a very solid potential for them, and after they started making their hydrogen network, and with BMW entering the segment, Musk decided to enter the segment too. This way, he can keep hydrogen grid development costs much lower while also being regarded as a trendsetter alongside Toyota and BMW. Plus, since Tesla has a very big fan base that is open to trying out new things, Elon can easily market this vehicle to them, just like he did the Tesla Model S, but with even more success than before. Plus, By diversifying its product offerings, Tesla will be able to cater to wider audiences, which would allow the company to raise its popularity even further. Not to mention that this also means that they'll be future-proof, so no matter where the industry goes in the future, Tesla will have the answer. There are still not a lot of details on the Tesla Model H. However, Tesla has officially confirmed that the vehicle will debut in 2026 and will be ready for production and purchase soon after. However, even with this in mind, FCEVs still have a lot of glaring issues, which is why they are still very limited in use and will remain so in the next decade. So let's see what they are and how these issues will be tackled. First of all, FCEVs have a massive problem when it comes down to running costs. Hydrogen, by all accounts, is expensive as all hell at the moment. You cannot even come close to regular gasoline cars in terms of running costs, let alone EVs. Now, granted, this is just a temporary issue because hydrogen technology is still in its infancy, and it needs to be scaled up so that it can become properly cheap. However, there's also another route to this issue, which is hydrogen storage. Hydrogen storage is the most notorious issue of FCEVs, as hydrogen is an extremely combustible and highly toxic gas. Storing it, both inside the car and outside, needs to be done so meticulously that it raises the expenses much more. These issues can be mitigated by storing hydrogen in a molecule such as ammonia, for example, and then breaking it apart and extracting hydrogen moments before it is used. However, these types of hydrogen vehicles are either just a theoretical concept or very early in development. Furthermore, at the current moment, hydrogen fuel vehicles are not as ecologically friendly as most people think. The reason behind this is the two processes that make large-scale fuel production: steam methane reformation and electrolysis. Steam methane reformation is a process that uses heat to cause a catalytic reaction to transform methane gas into syngas, a mixture of hydrogen and carbon monoxide. You're transforming one hydrocarbon into another. Electrolysis is a process in which high-voltage electricity is used to split the molecular bonds of water, generating hydrogen. That power usually comes through means that aren't environmentally friendly. Now, many companies are working on tackling these issues, as hydrogen is not only going to be used as a propellant for vehicles but also for many other uses. And the electrolysis process has been made completely green on a smaller scale by producing hydrogen by splitting water with electricity derived from renewable energy. However, this practice is yet to see wider scale use. In addition to that, why not go the route of EVs at that point? If renewable energy becomes widespread, why not just go for EVs and be done with it? Well, you would. In our opinion, EVs are most certainly the future. However, that future will also be shared with hydrogen vehicles, be it FCVs or hydrogen combustion. You see, despite being polluting, all EV technology is already evolving in the right direction, and sodium-ion batteries are a good replacement for lithium-ion. Sure, they are not as potent as lithium-ion batteries, meaning that they neither have the power nor the range, but they are ideal for city cars, and that's exactly where EVs can come into place. Smaller city cars can easily be recharged at an electrically self-sustainable home and used in day-to-day traffic. And since they aren't as energy-consuming as lithium-ion EVs, the grid won't be overloaded by them. Sure, the same issue of providing energy to people who live in apartments and buildings remains. However, it will be mitigated by the fact that hydrogen cars will exist. For city driving, hydrogen vehicles will be ideal for those who cross a lot of miles, such as taxi drivers and delivery services, while also being a good option for those who simply don't have an external power source to power up their vehicles. In addition to that, FCEVs and hydrogen combustion cars will be ideal for people who need a car that will be driven on open roads. This is because a hydrogen tank can be refilled much faster than regular EVs, let alone those that utilize sodium-ion batteries, while also offering greater range. This is what Tesla is looking forward to, too. And this is why they are focusing on their smaller EVs as well as expanding production to even smaller ones in hydrogen vehicles. Elon is smart enough to realize that, as such, the infrastructure provides too much of a challenge for EVs to tackle on such a grand scale, whereas combining EVs with hydrogen cars, which will be refilled in stations like regular gas pumps, does represent a logistical relief for the automotive industry. But truth be told, We're still a long way from that, and gas-powered cars are still going to take years and decades to be completely phased out.